Cuts back for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
Barnes! He's got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Obviously quickly finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
On it by Paul Patella. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day!
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Have a shot.
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Claret deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Turfcast podcast. As you can see, it's me, Nathan, as you're starting to get familiar with my ugly mush. Joe can't be with us tonight. He's busy at work and he's busy earning that dollar, which is fine. I can step in and take over. I'm joined by maybe a familiar face, maybe not, but I'm joined by I'd say one of Burnley's probably biggest online sort of commentators, tweeters, vloggers, would you say? You're up there, you're doing a lot of good stuff. So I want to introduce Jacob Orsfall. He does a lot of content online around Burnley, vlogging, tactics. So just tell everyone where they can find you and what you do, Jacob, to start with. Yeah? Get yourself in there.
Talk about football all round, tactical stuff. A lot of the stuff is what I'm trying to get into at the moment. I do vlogs every week with Burnley. And yeah, just at Jacob Horsfall on pretty much every socials. And yeah, feel free to check it out.
Yeah, go check him out. He's doing some good tactical pieces at the minute, not just on Burnley stuff, but on other teams. It's really insightful stuff, and he's doing really well. And I look forward to watching the vlogs because I don't have the confidence to do the vlogging. I feel like I'm too old for that. So you can take the reins on that one, mate. So obviously this is the full-time show. This from last night. We are looking back at the dramatic, chaotic, all-round good point. I think if you said to me at the start of yesterday, you're going to get a point away from home against Forest, 1-1. I think everyone would probably shake hands and go, yep, fair play, see you later. But on the whole, I thought we actually probably could have won the game. The balance of everything sort of swung in our favour quite a lot of the times, and we rode some good amounts of pressure. And to be honest, I thought it took a wonder goal to beat us. I thought that's pretty much what separated us, obviously minus a few other decisions that are out of our hands, but I think a Forest wonder goal from them were the only way that they were going to score against us. So give us your overall thoughts on the game last night. Summarise it as best you can for us.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point on the road. For going to the City ground and taking a point in our position is massive. I think not many teams in the lower half will go to Forest and take a point. As much as I do think we should have won the game, if you asked us before the game would you have been happy, probably would have said yes. I do think we are a better team than Forest, to be honest with you. When things get going, especially, we saw we couldn't beat them in the cup. We saw last night we can cut them open. And I think more so for me it's a clear step in the right direction. Yeah. We've had times last season where we've very much so looked open at the back. We've also not really created as many chances as we would have liked to. Whereas last night, we were all over them at times. We really pinned them in. I don't think they were limited to 0 big chances, which is obviously massive in the grand scheme of things, because it's not just about conceding. If you're looking at further down the season, limiting them to such a limited amount of chances bodes well going forward into other games against the likes of Everton, Sheffield United, them sort of teams that we probably should be beating. Massive point in the road. Should have probably been more. Do you say it's a point dropped? Not 100% sure. But yeah, it's a good point in the road, and I think that will carry us a lot going into even just United.
Yeah, I agree. No, yeah, we'll quickly jump in some comments. We've got some people watching who usually join the show early on. So, we've got Mike, good evening. First point on the board, I know exactly it's important to do that. We've got John, he says, good evening. Been waiting all day for this. Love that. That's dedication right there to Turfcast fans. That's what we want. That's what we love. Matthew saying, good evening, hope you're well. Yep, all good. Busy day at work, grafting away. Tony again, I, Nathan and Jacob. So obviously recognise you straight away there. So that one come in. The True Red's reared his head. He's True Red. He's a Forest fan, I believe. So he'll probably have some interesting points and takes to chuck in there. So straight away he follows it up with definite handball by Simon Jones. We'll come to that later on.
I'll pay for his draft if he wants them.
He says, good evening. So yeah, I think on that note, I think what we'll do is we'll start and we'll get the negative out of the way. And I think for me, the only negatives on the game was the VAR and the officiating. I thought it was an absolute shit show, to be honest with you. It was all over the place. The referee tried to give it big and then stamp his authority early on and booking Trafford in the first couple of minutes just for like, and he wasn't even doing it on purpose. He was just sort of just setting himself. The game's not in a real tempo. There's no reason for Trafford to slow the game down at that point. That doesn't favour us because we don't actually like to play. We don't like to slow things down. We like to just get hold of the ball as quick as you can and get hold of possession. And I thought from minute one, I thought the referee was an absolute joke. And obviously it transpired to be. So the Trafford incident for me was probably, obviously it was the beginning of an absolute horrendous performance. But what are your thoughts on that Trafford one to start with? Did that change the tone early on? Did it make players, did it put the referee on his back foot basically for a minute one after making that first mistake?
I think it's one of them where it's not nothing massive, but as soon as he does that, he's got the fans on his back already. And I just think it's never really a good way to go, booting someone so early, unless it's a serious foul. I don't think it's ever a good place to go really for a referee, as in it's just going to make him have a really hard night himself, because then he's fighting against that. If he goes in at half time and someone's gone to him, that wasn't a booking, it ruins the rest of the night. He's got that little tinge on the rest of his game. And I think it's soft to boot Traff early on for not really doing anything wrong to him. I mean, probably, could have probably took it quicker, but I don't think it was anything that was impacting the game or changing anything at all. So I do think for me it's harsh, but I mean, at the same time,
I mean, he's enforced the rule there. Like, I appreciate he's enforced the rule, but you don't do it on the first instance, I don't think. No sane referee comes in there and goes, first 5 minutes, bang, smack a yellow card out for that. He doesn't even warn him. He doesn't say, hurry up. He doesn't, the refs usually do that thing, don't they? They hold the watch, don't they, to say, I'm counting, he doesn't even do that. He just goes, bang, yellow card, and then does that arrogant, shrugs his shoulders thing and gives that stupid face that some referees do. And I thought, you've just lost the respect to the players there from minute one by doing that. And it would just, it was just a snowball effect from there. And I thought, leading on to when Forest got their equaliser, for example, like even though it went for us, it didn't go, it didn't go for us when they were looking for stuff on VR, but it just felt like they were looking for any reason to disallow them goals. And I hate that. That's what I hate about it. No, they were looking for an offside that worked there. They were looking for a handball that worked there. They were doing anything they can to rule out a goal, and it just really, really knocked me off.
I think even if looking at the Owoni one, I think with both sides really, it's not just us that were not. We were the ones that were on the receiving end of it, but at the same time, they were watching this Owoni angle over and over again. They didn't have the angles to prove it, yet they still continued to watch it as if they were going to be able to make a decision. For me, both the decisions, they got one big decision wrong, and then they got one spot on, but it doesn't equal each other out because of how obvious one of them was, which is what it's built for. What VAR is built for is clearing out obvious decisions, and that red card on Foster was obvious. Was absolutely spot on. It should have happened, but the handball on Van der Berge was never. And the thing that got me was Thomas Frank after the game said it perfectly. He said, in that position under the current ruling, it has to be a deliberate handball. And he said you can tell the officiate that anyone that's officiating them games have never played football in their life, because when you're playing football, to bring a ball down, you don't put your hand behind your back and just like try and peck it or something like that. You know what I mean? You've got to bring your arm up to try cushion it. What else is Van der Berge supposed to do in that position?
I
It's just
don't.
mental to me.
I don't.
And Thomas Frank hit the nail on the head, I think, last night.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Like the Sanderberg incident was like it was a terrible decision. Like genuinely a really bad decision. But I'm gonna say I can see why it was given because he's just applying what he's doing. Like he said at the end, he's doing it in the game when he's talking to Bellamy. And he's like, the referee's like moving his body and exaggerating the what Sanderberg did. If Sanderberg had done that and moved his arm into the ball to stop it from getting to the defender, then yeah, fair enough. It's not a goal, but it's the defender's reaction that gets me. That he just lies on the floor and realizes, shit, he's done me here. Like he doesn't even appeal anything. Like he knows full well, and it annoys me that the VAR has stepped in and said, like they've ruled out a perfectly good goal because they're just itching to. They're itching to rule something out. They want to find something. They were looking for something. Like they just. I'd have thought like. Actually, it could have been a foul on Sanderberg if Sanderberg hadn't gone through. Regardless of the handball, like he was pulling around his waist, he could have pulled him down. So, like, do you look back? And that was before the handball. So, like, it's just frustrating. Like, I can feel myself getting wound up talking about it. It really knocks me up, and it annoys me because we played so well. Like, we'll get onto the performance in a little bit, but we shouldn't be sat here 11 minutes in still talking about VAR. We should be talking about the lads. But that's the problem with VAR. It just puts itself at the front of the game, and it makes it about itself. It was brought in to enhance the game and allow and get more correct decisions right, and it just still isn't doing that. Like at all.
Inconsistent. It's just inconsistency in it. I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at another one that I want to look back on is if you look at Amdouni against Man City, dragged down in the box, nothing given.
Yeah.
And then we look, I think might have been Brentford or something like that.
Yeah, that same. It was Brighton the same weekend, weren't it?
It was the exact same weekend, maybe even the next day. It comes in the back of him. It's almost identical to what happened to Amdouni, but it's not against the top six and it gets given. Yeah. And it's just one of the things where if you're going to give it one way, you've got to have it the other way. That referee that was on the one that was on VAR last night actually refereed the Forest versus United game.
Yeah.
And messed up then as well. And for the fact that I wouldn't say messed up, but his decisions, I think, sending off the Forest defender, he got that wrong. And he's obviously gone and made another mistake last night. I mean, when you start questioning his authority himself, if Company was to do it, which we know he won't, he holds himself higher than that. But if Company was to do that, he'd get a fine if he was to question the officiating. So then when does it become to a point where you can actually say something about how poor the officiating's been without instantly getting smacked with a fine? You know what I mean?
That's the good thing about Company, though. Like, 'cause as much as I agreed with what Paul Heckingbottom said over the weekend, I don't agree with my manager doing that. I don't want him to ever lower himself to that because ultimately, I think the referees will probably sit in the dressing room and they probably will know they've cocked that up. You know what I mean? They probably will sit there, and they're never going to go, after they've done the decision or whatever, they're never going to go back and reverse it and put the ball back down the spot. But they're going to sit in the dressing room and they're going to know. So there's no point Company coming out, digging them out and then getting a touchline ban and a fine because it's just going to hamper us. So I thought he dealt with it really well. He was really respectful in what he said, which he's a better man than I'd have been. So that's a fair one. Quickly, we'll touch on the Lyle Foster one. A lot of people, I think on Twitter, there was like sort of a bit of a debate originally of it wasn't a red card. It was a bit soft. There should have been a penalty beforehand, but I thought once I saw the second angle, in fact, on the first angle on the TV I was watching, it looked like a red card to me because he throws his arms in with such force that he can't be doing that. And people saying, it should be a penalty for looking like that. But if it should be a penalty, he's being held, then Foster I think he should go down. Like, if you're being pulled back and being manhandled, elbowing somebody is not going to win you a penalty. That's what I'm thinking. And that's probably that Premier League English game sort of gamesmanship that Lyle's got to learn, I think. And it's probably a bit of a hard lesson that he's had to learn yesterday.
It's the dark arts, isn't it? I mean, if you're getting held like that, for me, I said as soon as I saw it, I said, why are you not going down there? If someone's holding on to you, just hit the deck, hit the floor. Worst thing you get is you get booked a yellow card. I mean, he's holding him, pulling him back. He is preventing him from making a movement towards the ball. For me, personally, I don't think it's a penalty. I don't think there's enough in it. But if he goes down, he gives the referee another decision to make.
Exactly.
We know the referee wasn't spot on, but it gives a decision rather than just elbowing him and just making the decision for him.
Yeah.
It was a competitive battle between the two. And if he goes down, like I said, it gives a decision where he just put himself in a complete wrong position last night. but he knows that, and I'm sure he'll come better. It's a shame because he's been
Yeah.
so good and should have had another goal.
Yeah.
And again, you can look back on, if that goal's not unlawfully ruled out,
Yeah.
then he doesn't get sent off.
I know it's a shame that he's going to miss that, because I thought actually the United game was looking like it was going to suit Foster really well.
I think Foster would have had a go at
Yeah.
Martin. I don't think Martinez or Lindelof or Maguire or any of them would have been able to handle with Foster and Anduni coming off him. I mean, Koleosho is going to have a field day against in behind Gilbert a lot because of how attacking he goes as well. I think, it's but I mean, I think we can cope. We've got enough players. It gives chance for Trezeguet to come in and kind of set his stamp. So
exactly, yeah. So that's enough about VAR and officiating, because it's boring me, because I thought we actually played really well. I thought on the whole it was a good performance, and like I said, we probably should have come out with the 3 points in the end. So we'll move on to the performances. So looking back at the first 3 games compared to last night, are you seeing any differences in the performance? What are your overall thoughts from the first 3 and last night? Because I saw quite a stark contrast.
There was a systematic change as well last night. I think he changed it completely in the way he set up, as in the Charlie Taylor coming in allowed us to build up in a different way from this season anyway. I know last season we kind of built up in that very much so. We played pretty much a line of 6 at the front pretty much a lot of the time last season. But this season so far, we've looked very vulnerable in the middle.
Yeah.
We've had Cullen kind of playing as that lone midfielder because we're trying to play Berger as that number 8, which he isn't really out and out. You know, he's not an out and out box to box midfielder. So it then meant that Cullen was exposed. We're trying to play Al Dakil further forward whilst trying to get a left back who isn't a left back to invert. And it was just it felt a lot of over complications for players that aren't ready for that level just yet.
Yeah.
I guess it shows what we're going to eventually be looking to do under company, but right now we're not at that standard. But then going against Forest, having Taylor come in allowed us to play as that kind of 3-2, if you know what I mean. We had the 3 centre backs because Taylor took it in as almost a third centre half.
Yeah.
Then allowed Roberts to go further forward, which he did last season, and then allowed Brownhill and Cullen to operate in the middle. And they just, I'm not going to say they dictated because they didn't early on, but it offered something completely different. We were so much more solid at the back. For Brownhill was very solid, although he was sloppy in possession at times. I didn't think he offered a lot in the midfield. His energy is brilliant. Ball winning was class. And I think when you partner with the creativity of the likes of Sander Berge, then you know you've got something serious going on there. Because he takes that energy from Berge. But yeah, last night the performance, the energy, the work rate, everything seemed just that little bit more complete. I mean, even players like Koleosho look a little bit more complete, ever so less raw, even though he is still very, very raw. It's just a lot of improvements. I mean, Lyle I thought was a lot better, and he's been brilliant.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it has been a big step in the right direction for what we throughout the 3 games. I know we've had really 3 pretty naff performances, but you can see what he's trying to do. Like you see, you know, there's quite a few teams in the Premier League at the minute that don't have an identity. You can't actually see what they're trying to do. Whereas from minute 1 this season, I actually think you can see what we're trying to do. I thought probably in the first, I'd probably say for a good chunk of that first half, actually, I thought we were actually quite sloppy on the ball. We held the ball well in like really undangerous positions, but the second that we needed to break a line or make a decisive pass, we just sort of lost it and played it away, or we played it out for throw-in or put it out for a cut. And I just felt like we were potentially going to have another repeat of what we've been seeing. But thankfully, I do put it down to, I think actually bringing Charlie Taylor in, bringing Goodmanson in, bringing Brownhill in from the start offered us a lot of protection, I thought, and a lot of, you know, like I said in the sort of like chatted on Sunday, that it wasn't a sexy sort of midfield 3 of what I did want to see Cork in there originally, but the 3 that was on there did more than fine. But I thought just be a bit more pragmatic, keep us in the game for a bit longer, and let our magic players work its magic. And that's what, to me, it looked like it was doing. It was working perfectly.
I think, when Goodmanson as well, Goodmanson and Brownhill, both of them are a lot better at retaining possession. Which obviously Berger, and if you want to play Benson or someone along that kind of lines, are a lot more direct, prevent us from being able to keep the ball as much. I mean, we know how much Abduni likes to shoot. I mean, he's trigger happy, and we know how much Koleosho obviously likes to run at his man, which he did brilliantly. But if we're to do that, we then need a balance on the other side. Someone like Trezor, Gudmundsson, someone that's gonna keep possession at times, and obviously Brownhill coming as well. He just wins the ball back, simple ball. It helped us be a little bit more stable in possession, a lot more balanced anyway.
Yeah, I'm noticing a theme that it does take us a good chunk of time to actually find our attacking feet in the game. I think even just like playing out from the back, and like there's times when I see Bayard have the ball and he's stood with the ball at his feet and he's like shifting it to the right, shifting it to the left, and he's looking and he's going like, where am I passing it to? Like, and it, that normally like it's been proven, a better team I think just picks us off and goes and gets a goal, like, which is what we've been found out that's been happening. So having more trusted players in there, them reliable, more sort of, I don't know, like old school, but you know what I mean, like a bit more of a traditional, simpler player. They protect the ball a little bit better and don't take as many risks on it. And it keeps us in the game. It allows us to make mistakes. It allows us to find our feet going forward. Keeps us in the game for a lot longer, which is something that I were banging that drum for ages of. Just keep us in the game for longer. Like I don't mind losing 1-0 as long as we stay in the game as long as possible. You know what I mean? Point, like I keep saying, there's no point having a nice load of attacking players, but we're 5-1 down to bring on. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. I'd rather keep us in the game for as long as possible and bring these players on. So is there anything you want to add about the performance or anything you want to mention? Before we move on to some individual performances?
Yeah. I think as the game got on, we kind of set ourselves as the better team, I think.
Yeah.
Again, I'm looking at the statistics here now. They didn't really create anything. Zero big chances missed, obviously.
Yeah.
They had more shots, but then looking at them, they'd never really tested Traff, I don't think. Who I did think was very, very solid last night. We dominated in possession-wise. We completed more passes than them.
Yeah.
We looked overall more dangerous, I think you could say. With obviously, again, like you said, some individuals that were brilliant. But early first half, I think you could see we were missing players, but we were missing that creative edge.
Yeah.
But I guess it's kind of, again, like you said, the price that you have to pay to kind of you've got to put your stamp on the game before you bring on them more flair players, which once we find the balance of being able to have that better ball retention whilst also having them direct players that are going to offer that goal threat is when we will start to seriously get going. You know what I mean? Like, as in when we find a way to have players like Brownhill, Gudmundsson, or them kind of model of players alongside having the goal scoring threat, I think that's when we will seriously get going. And last night going into the game, I was like, I just want to have a good performance. I don't care if we don't win a game until about November time. That's when I'm starting to get, we should be starting to get into our kind of rhythm by then. But we don't win a game until November, I'm not bothered.
No.
As long as I'm seeing good performances week in, week out, something we can build on. Like Vinny said, something that we can take from the game and step forward, which last night was, I think it was going to be very big for a lot of the players individually.
Yeah, completely agree. It was much needed, and I sort of sensed that. I know Vincent doesn't tend to get carried away too much with stuff, but I could sort of sense that he was relieved to sort of get that point on the board. I know looking back, he will have thought he wanted, will have deserved 3 points, because I think he definitely did deserve 3 points, but he just got that result, didn't he? We got the goal, we got a point on the board. It's sort of like, right, let's go from there. We're no longer sat there with that big fat zero hanging over us. It's something we can just take forward into the the next couple of games, which we'll come on to later on in this chat about the next few games. But yeah, I thought it just felt. This whole chat would be a very different chat if we'd have got that second goal, wasn't ruled out. We'd be going, yeah, buzzing, best, amazing performance. We wouldn't even be talking about how sloppy we were the first half. But you can see that the signs of what company wants to do. It's going in the right direction, in it.
Yeah, and I think for me, the eventual progression is Norma Masengo will come into our midfield and be one of our best players. As in, I really, really do rate him, and I think he's probably one of the natural progressions for Josh Brownhill. That ball winner, as much as he's probably a little bit more technical than Brownhill, up kind of plays a little bit deeper. But I think when we're looking at ball winners, he will eventually be someone that comes in for Josh. And then I think we'll have, like Cullen, Burge, Masengo 3, which will be dangerous, I think, at times, because it's just full of creativity. And like you said, company clearly has his vision, and we know when it gets going, we can be a very, very dangerous side. I think I was watching Company's interview and he said, right now the goal is to staying up. He said that's not where we plan to be. He said, but obviously that is the main goal, is surviving. And then when we're looking at it, the long-term goal is, can we establish ourselves? Can we become that next step? Can we to get ourselves involved in them teams that everyone's talking about? Which is a good goal to have.
Yeah. No, I agree. Sorry, I'm just having microphone difficulties, so in and out of what you're saying. But I think it's that first building block, like you say, to move on to the next level. And like you said, it's not going to happen in game, is it? We're gonna look back at this performance, work out what we did. It's just chipping away at the little things that we're correcting. And I can see, I know the results haven't shown it, but I can see progression from the first 3 games is we're correcting little things as we go along. Granted, some of them were probably more simple than others and were glaring from probably the second game, to be honest. But again, he's rectifying it. And the list of players we have to come back in, like we're talking about, we're going to talk about Charlie Taylor, Sanderberg. We've got players that haven't even featured yet, like Masengo or Trezo's had a small cameo last night. We've got Aaron Ramsey didn't even make it onto the pitch. Nathan Redmond wasn't even in the squad. Like, we've got a lot of players, a lot of different ways to set up a team and stuff. So it is exciting, and I still think we're just, like I said, November time is probably where we're going to see the Burnley that Company wants to put out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm going to Bournemouth away.
That'd be a good one.
We're first win at season.
Yeah, that'd be good. I hope so. I so hope so. Right, so look at some individuals, and I was going to start with Koleosho, but we'll start with Charlie Taylor, because my man Jacob here was round the centre of the whole Charlie in, Charlie out, Charlie in, Charlie out. Give us your take originally, what you thought of Charlie Taylor first. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I just want to put some context on it. And
I think when we're looking at the Company system, it's something that a traditional Charlie Taylor performance doesn't suit, and it was always going to offer. We were going to have to adapt if we were to bring him in. And at the start of the season, if we were to play the system that we were playing, even just against Spurs, Taylor wouldn't have worked, because we were playing with both the fullbacks were heavily involved in how we were playing out, how we were playing on the ball. Whereas if you look at when we've actually brought him in now, there's been a small adaptation to how we play. It's kind of less involved with Taylor actually getting on the ball, more using him as almost a third centre back. I think that's fair to say. And I think it's suits him a lot more. I mean, he did still have, I'm looking at now, 66 touches last night, which for Charlie Taylor, I mean, unknown for Taylor to have that much of the ball. But yeah, for me, at a time, I didn't think he would have suited her, just because, like I said, he's quite one-dimensional, I think, at times. He is very heavily left-footed. But with the changes Company's bringing in, when I said towards the end of the window, I would be opposed to Taylor playing if he was to play as the third centre half. I said it just after Forest in the Cup, in which he did that. I said if he was to come in, I would like him to play as that third centre half, tucking inside, and allow Roberts to go back to what he was in the Championship, being that bombing up and down wing back, rather than trying to play him as an inverted fullback and getting him involved in the midfield, which, let's be honest, he's not that type of player. He's not that technically elite. You know what I mean? But yeah, he proved me wrong, and I'll be the first to admit that I was wrong, because he took steps forward. He looked probably one of our better players, especially defensively. And yeah, I do think he will still not be necessarily the number one spot when players like Vitinho are back. But at the same time, if he comes in and impresses him or Vitinho, I'll be more than happy for it to not get someone in January if they obviously put the mark on it.
Yeah. No, like I say, I think Charlie Taylor proved a lot of people wrong last night. I really did. I have sort of always been on the camp of, not necessarily Charlie Taylor specifically, just more play left back at left back. I think we were just, that first, the City game, I'm not really judging because it's City. They do that to anybody. But the Villa game, like the holes that Matty Cash got, it was a joke. Like it was just happening over and over and over. Charlie Taylor must have sat and watched that game, and I'm surprised he was still at the club after watching that game and just thinking, what more do I have to do?
To be fair, I think Company was trying to take that step forward, as in, can we play with an inverted fullback?
Yeah.
But to play with an inverted fullback, you've got to have the pretty much bang on profile.
Yeah.
Klopp tried to do it with Joe Gomez at the weekend, and Wolves just completely took the piss.
So what we're saying, are we blaming Ian Matson? Is that what we're saying? Is it Ian
yeah,
Matson's
pretty much.
fault?
So this problem wouldn't have been there if Ian just
Yeah.
didn't beat Ian Matson. Like, come
Yeah.
on, mate. 5 minutes of the weekend against Bournemouth, grow up. You know what I mean?
I know. But no, I thought Charlie Taylor was, you know, it did what a good left back should do. Was he was direct with the ball. His first instinct for me was to look forward when he got the ball, was receive the ball, play out, and he looked forward like a bit old school, like he used to do with Dash. He just found the channels. That was his job. But we never really had players like we did going forward like we do now. So it's a bit more effective. He was good on the one-on-ones. I thought no one got a sniff down his side. He didn't let a single player get to the byline and cross it in, which I think was one of Forest's strengths.
He was only drilled past once last night.
Exactly. So fundamentally, like, being a defender, first and foremost should be defend. Like he was superb. He was good at that. Like I say, the big one for me was not letting them get to the byline, because they like to get to the byline and whip it in, and he muscled them out so many times, and a lot of the time he just screened and let players then bring the ball back, and he just let us reset, and he did a hell of a lot of good things last night. I was very, very impressed by him.
Villa exploited going in behind and going to the byline massively. The Matty Cash goal was literally just hit the byline, cut it back, goal. Which I know we did it, and it is. I mean, a lot of teams, when you break a team down properly, hitting the byline is one of the best things to watch, I think. But we were making it so easy for teams to do it.
Exactly.
That they weren't even breaking one down; they were just playing a through ball. So I think Taylor definitely probably be the way forward, but I still think him and Vitinho will be in contention with each other. I think maybe when we play the lower teams, we could see Vitinho potentially, just to like your Evertons. If we're really trying to pin them in, could be the way.
Yeah, I think like what True Ed said. He was quite impressed with Charlie Taylor. He's so strong performance every time they had the ball. He just stopped it. It just did his job, and I think Company couldn't have asked much more of him, to be honest with you. Like I think we knew his limitations in that system, and he's going to have them. Like players do have it, he has limitations. Players do have limitations, and I think we played to Charlie Taylor's limitations, which was don't necessarily expect him to bomb up and down with the ball and whatever. No. But what he did do, like I said, he was effective when he had the ball. He got the ball and he gave it to somebody else. That was genuinely, like, sounds so simple. He got the ball, head up, give it to a better player, and that's what he did, and he did it so well. So I want to say a big, massive shout out to Charlie Taylor, because we're going to probably rely on him until at least January now, aren't we, to be honest with you? Looking at that performance, like I say, we've got a lot of tough games. There's not many lesser games in there that, we've got, but he's going to have to, give us some more performances, I think, before the end of before January anyway, until we can maybe look again in that position and get the player that we do want that fits his profile. So, but who knows? Charlie Taylor might become half-line inverted fullback.
I mean, I think we're going to have Vitinho and Taylor competing for it 100%, and I think if one of them two can put the mark in it, then why not? I guess, but I think more than likely Company will go out and get one. I mean, he wouldn't have spent all summer trying to sign one, the perfect one, if it wasn't. And I think fullbacks in the future of company system are going to be massive. I mean, you look at how vital they are to Pep.
We got to caveat it as well, though, that left backs are not hot. They're not easy to come by. Even just getting an average one is very difficult in this current market at the minute. So, I
wish we went for Kirkez, that one that went to Bournemouth. He would have been unbelievable. Yeah. And he wasn't even expensive. He was like 15 million, I think. Yeah. Honestly, he would have been unreal.
It was a random one, but I thought if we could get Aït-Nouri at Wolves, I thought they might have because they needed some cash. I thought maybe just spend the 20 million on him. Like, he's got Premier League experience. Like, but that was a stab in the dark. Looking at it, when I did say it originally a few weeks ago, I thought, why would he come to Burnley? But Wolves sort of did need the money. He was one of them. I thought he would have been.
I said that, to be fair myself. I think it would have been it's more than solid signing. But at the same time, would Wolves sell to how much they needed money with Nunez going to City?
I think Gary O'Neill going there changed that pretty quick, because I was saying we should get him in the middle of Lopetegui leaving and
with all the issues.
But when Gary O'Neill came in, I thought, that's it. He's going to stay, because his system's going to be based around his wing backs. So So right, well, from one left-sided player to another one, let's look at our star man at the minute, who's like barely old enough to drink, Lucas Koleosho. Like, the
Yeah,
kid's a joke, like an
unbelievable.
absolute joke. I have no idea, one, how we've got him for 4 million, two, how we've even got him. Why has he been playing B team football and not one Premier League or even top level Championship team has took a punt on him yet? I have
Yeah,
no idea.
it's the fact he made 3 sub appearances last season in
Yeah.
Spain, and the fact company and the scouts have just picked him out. It is Brighton-esque, and I think he's probably putting himself up there for a valid shout of he is our best player at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Not
behind
even.
Lyle Foster, because he's
No,
not just
but I think
unpredictable.
without Koleosho, them goals Lyle Foster doesn't get.
He's been
Like,
involved. So if you the goal that was scored against Villa came
mhm,
from Koleosho beating 3 players and cutting it
yeah,
back. He then
gets on.
assisted the one against Tottenham,
Yeah,
and then he also, I'm going to say, he's unlucky to not get the assist against Forest.
yeah.
He's literally been
Alan
involved
Foster
in,
got that assist. I
yeah,
saw
he
it come
just
through on my
hits him.
fantasy. I was like, it
Yeah.
just hits his arse.
I had Foster in my fantasy. He got an assist, goal
I
ruled
know.
out, and sent off. Christ, he has made. It ruined my weekend. But yeah, honestly, Koleosho, unbelievable. I think he needs
Yeah,
to work on obviously his link up play. If he can get that better, then we 100% have arguably one of the
yeah,
most exciting talents, specifically wingers in the
yeah.
Premier League.
Like,
Like the
company.
raving that he got last night as well.
Yeah, the
I prefer
Sky
it
were.
didn't happen so we can keep him
Yeah, I
for as long
know.
as we can. But
Sky were
um,
purring
I
over
can
him,
see
weren't they?
Chelsea putting a 30 million bid in the summer.
Yeah, well, 300 million at their spending rate.
Yeah.
No, Sky were purring over him, weren't they? Like, they were really, singing his praises, and the commentators kept saying how excited he were. But company mentioned a few weeks ago that there's £100 million player sat in the dressing room at Burnley. Is it Koleosho?
I think there's more than one. I think Zeki Amdouni. So, from what I've heard, there's things like around the training ground. They say Zeki Amdouni is head and shoulders above.
Really?
Um, and to be honest with you, you can see it
Yeah.
technically. When have you seen a player just so elegant on the ball,
Yeah.
so good in the little tight spot spaces, the
Mm.
pockets? He can come deep if he has to. Can get it in the half spaces on the edge of the box, stuff like that. He's just a joy to watch. And I think when we get Koleosho linking up with him a bit more, which is going to be
Yeah.
the natural thing with Foster up front, you'll have the sort of 1-2s in possession from Koleosho. Yeah, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be dangerous. And I
Yeah.
think Koleosho could easily go for that
Yeah.
60, 70 million in a couple of years.
Yeah. They, like what Flyover Fred says there, it's his 10th senior career appearance. Like,
Been doing that
nearly
to a World Cup winning right back.
yeah, exactly. I was going to bring that up. Like, that World Cup winning right back didn't have a clue what to do with him. Like, didn't have a clue.
There was one point Koleosho gets the ball on the byline, takes a step to his left, and just slots it through him, and Montiel just goes flying off pitch, and he's gone.
Yeah, yeah. The kid, what I love about him, like what I really, really love about him is his fear. He just doesn't care. Like, he has no fear. Like,
He just goes again.
even in the games that were absolutely out of it, it's dead. Like, the game's done. Tottenham specifically, he's still going. He's still trying. He's still running. He's just taking people on, trying to make people. What I would like to see him do a bit more of is maybe just have a few more shots. I think he gets himself in good positions and he plays the safe ball, which is probably what company's telling him to do. But I'd maybe like to see him, play that Mahrez role where Mahrez would bomb down the wing, chop inside, have a shot. More often than not, he'd go in. Like, because what'll happen is it'll either rebound off a defender or a keeper, fall to Amdouni, fall to Foster, fall to whatever. Like, but what he's doing at the minute, he can't fault. He's cutting inside, playing the ball across, and thankfully we've now actually got a striker that knows to be in the right position.
He's very much so like a byline
Yeah.
dribbler. He attacks the byline when he gets there in behind, and the first place Koleosho wants to go is that byline. He wants to get as close as he can to get the ball going out of play and just run at the defender because he knows it's a win-win situation. The majority of the time, Koleosho's going to go past them, and if he doesn't, it goes out of play. We've got a corner. And I think he's just so good at it. And once again, he gets that final pass just a little bit better.
Yeah.
We'll see so many times where he'll just hit the line, cut it back, Zeki or Foster are there, bang, goal.
Yeah.
And it's the fact for me is how many times he goes at a player. You can tackle him, he'll go again. Tackle him, he'll go again. Completing four dribbles last night, direct one-on-ones. It's very impressive for a
It's
winger.
the cheek as well that he just tries to meg people all the time as well. Like he plays like he. I'm not comparing him to Phil Foden, but I'm saying he plays with that no fear. Like Foden to me plays like he's playing out park, like he's just with his mates. He's going to try and meg him. He's going to try, like knock it off side up wall and play it right. It's what he feels like. Koleosho wants to do. He just looks like he's just enjoying playing football, and like I thought the pace was. I knew he was fast because I saw it the first game of the season, and like, but that again, I know what he did for that goal. Like the ball, he had no right to get to that ball first. There was the left back was covering, the right back was covering him, and then the centre half was coming round to cover and just mop up. But the fact that he gets ahead of it, I was baffled by how fast the guy was.
He's electric, honestly. The
so
energy he
quick.
brings, when we're in games, and he's another one of them players. When we're going to be, for example, United at home, we're up against it.
Yeah.
We find Koleosho, he gets the stadium going, and then that's when you look at Bournemouth against Chelsea when they're stringing on, trying to get one, and then they have them players who will beat one or two men. The stadium's up. That's when you start to get your real big moments from Luka Koleosho, and I think we're going to see a few of them. Chelsea at home, United at home. When you think maybe we can nick one here, you're hanging on, and then someone like Koleosho beats one or two men,
There's
and
a bit
then
of magic.
that's when you'll see Koleosho at his best. I think he'll step up in them big games as well. Even though he's only 19, he just has that, like you said, he's got that confidence, that cockiness about him.
Doesn't care.
He has that. It's not like. And not in a negative way, but he has that little bit of cockiness about him, as in he will just strut past someone. It's what you need when you're playing as a winger. And I think it says a lot that he's keeping Benson and Zaruri both out the side, who were top 6 players last season for us 100%, and he's got them both sitting on the bench, not getting in over him.
And the kid's barely old enough to drive. Like he's. What I'm excited. I'm not excited for him, but more like I think will help us as well. As I think the longer the season goes on, I think teams will see him as a threat and actually double up on him quite a lot, which is going to allow your Fosters, your Amdounis, these other players to have a bit more space in them pockets. Because I know that works really well for Jack Grealish at City. That he's the player that last season he was the player that. Didn't I won't say didn't do much because he won the frigging treble, but he was on the pitch and he was just getting marked out of the game, doubled up on. But you did that at your own peril because it meant Bernardo Silva was there, De Bruyne was there, Ford was there. Like it opened up pockets of space elsewhere because they saw him as such a threat. So while he's still being undetected, he's going to have joy. And I think actually when he does start getting detected and oppositions are gonna be a bit fearful of him, it's going to actually allow other players to have more joy as well.
I think the thing is as well, Koleosho, you wouldn't put it past him beating 2 men.
No, exactly.
Before, and I think with the players we have, we've got like the profiles that would really strive with that. You got Amdouni. We are very free flowing across our attack. So I think he just brings chaos. Koleosho is, and he just runs everywhere in behind. Give it with his feet. Give him at the touchline. Give him it running 1v1 and he'll just do something. And I think, like you said, it will create so much problems for teams, especially if they try and man up on him, two man up on him, because how do you stop it when you've got a player that's going to be just as equally as good, Mike Trezor, on the other wing, and he's going to be doing the exact same thing?
Well, it follows on nicely. Let's quickly touch on Trezor in his debut. How do you think he did in the sort of, was it 20 minutes he got?
Not long, not enough to make a difference, but he uses a bit of class. I think you can tell he's got that little bit of class about him, which we knew he was bringing with him. You don't have 24 assists, no matter what league you're in, unless you've got something about you. I think within first 5 minutes of him on the pitch, he completed a first touch back heel pass and played a ball with his back. And I think he will be massive again because he does keep the ball a bit better. Like, he's not necessarily direct as much as Koleosho is, which I think Koleosho's directness does replace that kind of teller, running straight at them. Trezor does bring that point where he can keep the ball. And if company obviously gets him to find the perfect balance between the Goodmanson of keeping the ball, but also beating his man with the flair he is ridiculous on the ball.
Yeah. It's so exciting.
Very good.
Yeah, it's so exciting to have players like that being integrated into the team. You know, they've got all this to come. We've got, you know, the Masengo, we've got Ramsey to come in, we've got like Benson to sort of come back. It's like, it's so exciting to
Yeah. I mean, I don't even like genuinely at the moment. Who do you even start as your front line? For me, United, it's going to be Amdouni, Koleosho, and Trezor. But when Foster's back, you know, do you go back to having the four up front, or do you play Burge, Gunn, and Browner, or do you bench one of Koleosho or Trezor or Amdouni?
Yeah.
It's a brilliant problem to have, to be fair.
It's like, say, for the first time in a long while, we've not had this problem to have. It's always been same 11 from last week. So it's a problem that I'd rather company have than myself. He can deal with it. Cause I wouldn't be able to pick. You know, I'd mess it. I'd cock it up. I'd try and get all of them on, and like I'd do in Football Manager, just get as many attacking players on as possible and see if it works. But no, moving on to the last player I want to talk about. I want to give a good honourable mention. I actually want to give a shout out to Sanderberg, because I've not been his biggest fan, and probably has been one of his biggest critics on this channel. I've not really rated him in the games I've seen. I've found him to be quite laboured, probably out of it. Doesn't have the fitness for me. But seeing him come on, not necessarily as an impact player, but see him come on and be that attacking midfielder that he wants to be. Because I know he was played a bit more defensively for Sheffield United. So seeing him in that more attacking role with an attacking purpose, it bore its fruits pretty much straight away within like 10 minutes of him coming on. Obviously, the handball ruled it out, but he was breaking them lines. He was pulling their back four across the pitch. You know, it was very good. What give us your thoughts on Sanderberg and how you thought he played?
See, I've been a Sanderberg fan from when we signed him. You know, I think he's the perfect player for us. But I think when we've been playing him, he's been hung out to dry. As in, we weren't playing him to his strengths. Company was trying to play him as a box-to-box midfielder, which he isn't. And it kind of exposed him. I think a lot of our fans then got on his back, which I did think was a little bit unfair, because it wasn't necessarily his fault. He was obviously doing the role that he'd been told of getting involved in that attack, which, I mean, the role Company wanted to play. I mean, even an elite level centre midfielder would struggle with playing as a number 8, number 10, and also almost playing as a double pivot at the same time. Like any midfielder would struggle for that, which is what I mentioned before, as in you can see where we are going to eventually go. But I think in a 3-man midfield with Cullen and Burge and Brownell partnering as the 2 number 8s is definitely the way forward. I mean, let's say Burge doesn't have that defensive capability, but Brownell brings the energy which Burge doesn't, like, you know, somewhat lacks. But the creativeness of Burge is going to be massive, and it takes the weight off Brownell. And I just think last night, the way he carries the ball is something that we've missed for years. We've never had a midfielder that can pick the ball up, other than Defoe, and even then he was not as powerful when carrying it.
Yeah, that's what my beef was with Sanderberg, is the games that he was doing it in, it didn't need to happen. One, because we were 3-0 down, 4-1 down. Like just think about it. Like, just settle down. Like, just be a midfielder. Just settle down. Retain the ball. You don't need to go on these mazy runs. You don't need to break. Like, we're 4-1 down. The game's done. Just have a bit more game management. And I didn't. Now, whether he's been told to do that, which he probably has or what, but I felt like he could have just. It wasn't doing himself any favours, and he looked like he was just being pulled everywhere and in places where we were just going to get sliced apart right straight away. So, again, like I said earlier on, it's the stay in the game a bit longer, have the 3 midfielders to keep us more pragmatic and in the game a bit more, and then it brings the players in to change the game. And I thought Sanderberg did that perfectly. Like, he changed the game really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, when he came on, he had 25 touches within about 20 minutes of being on the pitch. He completed 11 out of 15 passes, completed every dribble he attempted, or that was one. Won both his ground duels, half his aerial duels. For me, it's perfect. And I think, like I said, when we get going, we have our perfect system out there. Burge gets in for me. Perfect team. Burge is in that team 100%. And is it the forefront of a lot of the positive things that we will do?
I feel like now we've gone from being Dash fit now to company fit, and I think there's a lot of players that are gonna take a good chunk of time to get company fit, and I think it's more about not necessarily physically fit as well. I think mentally fit. Like I think company's level of game is very technical. I find a very high level, and it takes a long time for that to sink in. Whereas Dash was very much, you just got to run, you got to be fit, you just got to be physically fit to run, which is fine. That's, it works so well. But this time it's the both. You've got to have the physicality, but you've got to have the mental thing. And I think Sanderberg maybe is just taking that little bit longer to, these younger players. The younger you are as a player, the quicker you can absorb information, which is why I think you're seeing your Fosters, your Koleoshos, I think that's where they're getting more joy on the pitch, because they're absorbing this information a lot, and I think the younger ones will step in as well, and sort of. But the older ones, it will take a little bit of time and a little bit longer to bed in. But like you say, I do think Berg will become quite an integral part in that midfield once he 100%. Figures how he's two in, whether it's two pivots or one, and one holding and one pivot sort of thing, and whatnot going forward. So
I think to have a balanced midfield, we've got to either have. For me, I was a big fan of just playing Cullen and Masengo. I think would have been great, but obviously Masengo's still obviously not quite there yet. I think give him some time. Salford.
Too busy Instagramming around Burnley.
Just hopping around Burnley. I just go take a photo with the chippy. Get the training, mate. what you bet 365 for? Go to training. Just quick pint in fan zone before game and that. But yeah, I think when he. For me, against Salford, we should play Masengo as the pivot. But I think for a 4-3-3 probably suits us a lot more if we're going to try and play Bergjan Brown, much more balanced.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like I say, overriding opinions on the game. It's getting there. It's starting to, it feels very similar to this last season. Whereas last season we could get away with being shit against Blackpool. I mean, I'd say get away. We drew 3-3, but if we played like that against it, like we have been doing, you get absolutely destroyed, don't you? You know what I mean? Like we have been doing. These teams are going to pick you off pretty easily. So yeah, I'm happy it's going in the right direction. The team looks to be gelling. Players look to be getting more and more settled. And again, we've got more players to come back. More players coming back into the team, and that depth of quality is just getting better and better. Yeah. Are there any other standouts you want to sort of throw a mention out before we do a quick man of the match shout?
Trying to think. Trafford.
Again, fair one.
I think he gets a lot of unfair stick. I mean, he's not as good as Muric, but he's better than Muric was at the start of last season.
Yeah.
I think that's big for me, as in he's going to get a lot better, and I think you've got to trust it, as in everyone stood against Muric last season. And don't get me wrong, I love Muric. I defended him from the start. I got in so many arguments. Yeah. It's quite a trend, me getting arguments over players, but I got in so many arguments of people over Muric last season. And don't get me wrong, I love him. I think if we were to look at it right now, Muric should be starting. But in the long run, Trafford is going to be better. And I think at the moment, Trafford is doing a job. Last night, I was impressed. Other than the yellow card, I thought he had a very solid game. Yeah. Made some good saves. I think there was early on, he made a big save in about the 17th, 15th minute, which kept us in the game. And I think as he develops, like you said before, you've got to get used to the system. He's gone playing from a League One press to being pressed by Erling Haaland. You know, it's a big jump, which is partially our fault, and that's why we've got to give him time. But I think once and a lot of people kind of complain about him holding on to the ball for too long, but that's exactly what Muric did. That's exactly what company wants him to do.
Yeah, he's been told to do that. Yeah, I would like to see him just sharpen up a little bit and not.
I know what you mean. Just passing need to be more accurate.
I feel like just passing be a bit more accurate, and because I feel like he takes a bit too long to set himself ready to strike the ball. Like that's what it looks like to me. Which I don't know whether it's a nerve thing, because I know it's not an ability thing, but it must be a nerve thing, or he's doubting himself in his head. You know, there must be something. But once I would like to see him, like what Muric did to the back end, just get a bit better command in his area, because Muric was terrible at the start of the season, but he fixed it, and it's going to take a couple of goals, but he was getting there. But I feel like I like watching the goalkeepers, and I do like to see a keeper command his area. I feel like that's one area we're missing out, because we don't have a lot of height at the back really, and I would prefer to see a keeper dominate that, and And I did think it was weird at some point as well. Just on Trafford that we did actually leave him on his own with 2 Forest players around him quite a lot on corners and stuff like that. I don't know what that was about. Luckily, we didn't get caught out with that, but I thought that might have been a talking point if we'd have got caught out with that, which I thought was odd. But who am I to judge?
I think it comes as well as he gets more kind of the relationship with his backline improve. As we get a bit more of a consistent backline, probably.
Yeah.
We've kind of chopped and changed throughout because of Bayer not really being 100% there. Delquar coming in and out, Taylor now coming into the fold. Once he gets his back line, you can expect him to go forward. But I do think we've just got to support him. You've got to push him through it because, there's points where he's making saves and people are chanting Muric at him. It can't be good for his confidence, his mental health, any of that sort of thing. And I think, you can have your disagreements, but some things can go a little bit too far. But he will be good. And I think with Muric, I love him and I hope he stays because he would be the best number 2 in the whole of the Premier League comfortably as well.
I know.
So
I do feel I am still Team Muric still at this minute. I think.
Oh yeah.
He's the better goalkeeper on the whole, but I'm more the sentimental type that I wanted to see him get his chance in the Prem because he got us to the Prem. But I know why Trafford's playing because you don't sign a £20 million, potentially £20 million keeper and sit him on the bench, do you? So I know why he's playing. Company believes in him, so we'll just stick by him and just hope that the games do get a bit easier for him and he steps into it. But just before we start talking about man at match, get your comments in on who you're thinking the man at match is, and we'll chuck some on the screen. So I'll let you go first. Give us your man of the match shout.
Mine. Man of the match for last night. I would have put Foster up there if he didn't decide to just give him a right hook.
Get the people's elbow out, didn't he?
Yeah, KSI, mate. But I'm going to go with Luca Koleosho. I think he was untouchable at times, as much as he gave away the possession. It's part and parcel of being a direct winger, and I think he was electric. And I think we wouldn't have had anywhere near as much joy without his pace, his movement, his ability. But yeah.
Comments trickling in. A lot of people saying Taylor, Koleosho, whatever. I'm going to give it to Charlie Taylor. One, because it was his birthday, and I thought he played out his skin, and I just thought he deserved it. I thought he will have probably seen the comments and the rhetoric online. I imagine he will have done, or it would have, he would have seen it. He would have heard what people were saying and whatnot, and and he would have seen on the pitch what was going on, and he would have seen the glaring situation with, which he was like, we needed a left back in, and we didn't sign one, so. For him to just come in and just get on with it, and he just strikes me such a good professional, Charlie Taylor. You never hear him. He barely does any press conferences. He doesn't say anything. He just gets on with his job. And I thought he was superb. Like, he did his job. He marked the players that he needed to mark. He mopped up when he needed to. For me, he gave a solid 8 out of 10 for performance for me. And I think if you can carry a couple of players that will just give you 8s, which I think Charlie Taylor will, then you've got a good base to go on. For me, I'm going to give it Charlie Taylor last night because he was superb. I'll have a quick look at some comments. People saying Charlie Taylor. I'm doing this. Someone said I'm doing it. Fair one. His goal was very, very good. We're not even really touched on that. But his goal was superb. To keep it down on the half volley, place it as well. Very good.
That's what he's about. I'm doing it. I think company said it. That is exactly what I'm doing. He's about.
Yeah, we've got Cullen for shout. Yeah, again, I like Cullen because we don't talk about him. If you're not talking about Josh Cullen, it means he's doing his job. Like that's what I always believe. If you're talking about Cullen, it means he's done something wrong. I think. But if we can go an hour and not mention his name, it means he's done his job. Which is
I think I was happy because I think he started the season quite poorly. Especially Tottenham, I thought he was very out of it. But yeah, last night he looked back to not sort of dictating how we play a lot more, set the tempo sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think we're just creeping up to the hour mark, so I think we'll probably wrap it up there. We've got quite a busy couple of days, weeks on the channel. Obviously, we've got United coming on Saturday, so we've got some pretty decent guests for that on the pre-game, and we'll be going on other stuff, so keep an eye out on that. And then we've got Salford away next week, I know, which a lot of people have been scrambling to get tickets. I fortunately have managed to get a ticket, so I'm delighted to be going to Salford away. I'm excited for that one. But again, we're going to get some content out about that over the few next coming days. We'll try and cram it all in. It's going to be a bit of a tight turnaround, but just wanted to say a massive thanks to Jacob for joining us. You're going to see a bit more of Jacob on this channel, I hope, because I thought he's been brilliant tonight, and I've been wanting to get him on for ages, and it's just never worked. Schedules haven't lined up, so we'll hopefully see Jacob on here a bit more. Have you enjoyed your debut on Turfcast tonight?
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Yeah, as long as I'm a bit busy, guys. So whenever I'm not, I'm happy to come on.
No, yeah. So remember, don't forget to like the video, and if you've just joined us late on, make sure you jump straight on the YouTube channel, because this will just be there, and you can watch from the beginning if you're desperate to see my ugly face again. Joe will be back with the pre-game show in the week, but again, appreciate for everyone for watching, for commenting, getting involved. And we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.